Two Boston City councilors are doing their part to help bring down the dropout rate. They're exploring the possibility of raising the age at which students would be allowed to quit school. Joining us are Councilor at Large John Connolly, who's also head of the Education Committee, and the District Councilor from Roxbury, Tito Jackson. Thank you both very much for being with us.
Thanks.
I want to start with John Connolly. Talk about what's in place right now and what's the difference that you think a change would make.
Right. Statewide law, creates a legal age to leave school at 16 years old. And when you sort of think about it, I think for most people it just doesn't seem right that at 16 a young person can make that decision to walk away from school on their own, of their own volition. Then we think about all the things we don't allow 16-year-olds to do, but we do allow them to leave school. And so what Councilor Jackson and I have done is begin a process today by which we're going to pressure the state to approve, in the least, raising the dropout age to 18 for Boston Public School students. We'd love to see them do it statewide, but if they're not ready to do that, I think we ought to move toward making Boston a pilot, and we can look to 19 other states, and New Hampshire most recently getting a lot of attention as raising that dropout age, and key piece, combining it with programming to keep kids on track to graduate from high school and go on to college.
Tito Jackson, why do you think some of these students are dropping out? Because I understand that some of the ones who are dropping out, they've even passed the MCAS required.
Yes, so teachers now are facing, as well as students are facing, many obstacles that they haven't faced in the past. Oftentimes, when we look at some of these students are the only ones in their family who are working. Some of these students are the primary child care providers for their siblings. There's lots of issues that these young people are facing, but the message that we're sending, Councilor Connolly and I, as well as the City Council, when dealing with this issue, is that we will not give up on you. We will not allow you to walk out of school, which essentially is walking away from not only surviving, but thriving in life. We know we live in a day and age, if you don't have a high school diploma, your chances over the course of your lifetime are really limited. And dollar-wise, and there's a Northeastern study that proved this, you're about $400,000 behind the rest of us if you don't actually have that high school diploma. So we want high school and education in the city of Boston to be a launch pad to a successful career and for our young people to thrive.
Coming back to John Connolly, one of the things you're probably going to try to flesh out a bit more in the hearings coming up in this is how you would enforce it, right?
Yeah, so enforcement's always an issue, but I can go back to the truancy legislation I have filed around a parental accountability piece, and I think that programming in many ways becomes the key. And what we see is that if we have schools that are welcoming and nurturing, that is how you keep young people on the path, and you have the programming in place to keep them on the path. So it becomes less about the enforcement avenue and more about saying, here are the career pathways that we have for you as a freshman, a sophomore, junior, senior. And I'll use Fenway High School as an example. So here's a high school in Boston Public High School where they have a 90% graduation rate, okay? Well ahead of our 63% rate citywide. And what's one of the things that they do? They put seniors in the workplace, working in everything from businesses to the city council, where they're working alongside people who have their college degrees, and have made a professional pathway for themselves. And these kids go into these pathways and they say, I can do this. And I can do this, and college becomes a reality. And there's many other programs that you could look at. Year Up as well, which picks up young people who are the ones that we're really worried about here, who drop out at 16, who fall off our radar. Year Up program picks them back up and does a 6-month academic curriculum followed by a 6-month job placement that can lead ultimately then to a community college pathway and employment with their placement at the end of the line. And it's about offering programs like that more so than it is the enforcement mechanism. But I do think, and I'd go back to the truancy, we have to find a way to make sure people understand that this is until 18, and you can't just walk away. You can't just be chronically absent from school, which is a problem we already face with middle schoolers.
Yeah, Councilor Jackson, coming back to these programs, it sounds like somewhere along the line there's got to be more money. This is at a time when the city's cutting, the state's cutting, so is that kind of money going to be there for these things? This
is a pay now or pay later proposition. If we allow young people to drop out at this age, where do they end up, Chris? They end up in jail. 28 out of 100 young people ages 16 to 24 surveyed by Northeastern, out of the course of their time, they ended up, after dropping out, 28 out of 100 are in jail each day. So when it comes down to it, we can pay now $12,000, $14,000, $15,000 to keep them in school, or we can pay $54,000 a year to lock folks up. My feeling is, again, we cannot give up on our young people. College Bound Dorchester is another great program that meets people where they're at. And I think Councilor Connolly brought up a really good point. The programming that's going to meet people where they're at, flexible programming that gets people to where they need to be. And this also can be college-oriented programming, but this also can also focus on vocational programming, where we can have young people who are pipelined into great jobs in labor unions, as well as other areas. So it again deals with the diversity of situations that our young people have that may be non-traditional and meets them where they're at to get them to where they need to be.
Another concern here with connections to the dropout problem is language learners. A lot of the immigrant students, they seem to be even more at risk for this. And you're looking into that area this year?
Yeah, I think we've been very focused on English language learners in Boston. We should recognize that, very quickly. I would say inside of 2 years, some projections put us more at 5 to 10, but we will have over 50% of the students in the Boston Public Schools will be English language learners. We've got to make sure the system is equipped to meet the needs of those students, both for those students and for the city as a whole. And so I think part of this, and I have talked to some educational experts on this, is that when you lengthen that age to 18, you're going to create more opportunity to reach the English language learner, engage and deliver effective programming for the English language learner. And I'll use an example of Visit to Newcomers Academy that I made last year. And so here is a middle school targeted at kids who have been in this city and this country for less than a year. And what we're seeing there is exactly what Councilor Jackson talks about, and I know what he works on in his district all the time. You've got students coming, and they may be a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old, the only source of income for their family. And so they're going to make that choice to exit school and try and provide income. If we can get the right programs in place, we can help them with English proficiency and put them on a real career pathway.
Councilor Jackson, because you're also concerned about, in the middle of your district there, Dudley Square economic development. We've had some announcements.
Yes, sir.
Anything happening?
Many things are happening. Ferdinand is happening. It's really going to be the gateway into the Dudley Square area. Parcels 9 and 10, RFPs are out. Again, to your viewership, we are open and ready for business. We had some things happen over at Vertex. We would definitely love folks to come and develop, bring jobs, and really take advantage of the great opportunity along the Melnia Cass Boulevard. We are bordered by Northeastern University and Roxbury Community College, BU Medical Center and Boston Medical Center on the other side, and we literally have as much public transportation as you can fit into any one area. So it is a new day and a renaissance for the Dudley Square area.
Councilor Connolly, speaking of Vertex, there was the vote today approving the $12 million tax break, and people say, tax break on a waterfront? Why?
We bring jobs into the area at a time when our economy is slumping. That's first and foremost, and potential to bring thousands of jobs. And the other piece here is, if Vertex doesn't come, it's zero in tax revenue for the city. When Vertex comes with a tax break, that's all new revenue for the city that we're gonna benefit. So I really look at it as it's a plus, it's a win-win across the board. And the last piece I'll say is we ought to extend that vision of Dudley's transformation, the mayor's vision and the vision Councilor Jackson's working hard on, to incorporate Madison Park and the O'Brien and transform them into an environmental sciences complex and have an environmental science academy that taps in to the great things going on at both those schools and get companies like Vertex to come in and help back a project that puts our kids on career pathways to jobs in the clean and green economy.
All right, thank you both very much, Councilors John Connolly and Tito Jackson.
Thank you.
In a moment, state budget cuts versus a change in taxes, but first, this message.